Hello, Damien here from Cloud Technology Experts, and welcome back. In this video, we will continue from where we left off in our last video on shell scripting. In Linux, repetition is common. So today we're going to learn how to automate our task using variables, which we talked about in the last class, but we will enhance the video by talking about how do you take decisions and how do you perform repetitive tasks inside your script. So we're going to learn about if then else and looping. So to follow along, ensure you have your Ubuntu distro up and running. You can have it in your VirtualBox, or you can go to any cloud of your choice and create an instance. And actually in today's video, I'll be using Amazon Linux from AWS. You can also use any Red Hat based distro in any cloud of your choice. So the learning objectives. By the end of this video, you'll be able to do a couple of things. You will understand variables, you will understand how to use looping, you will understand how to take decisions inside your script. And you're going to learn to also write more shell scripts like we did in the last video. So with variables, we talked about this in the last video. Variables are simply places where you can store data for reuse. And to access your variables, you place a $sign in front of the variable name. And we did this example earlier in the last video, where if this is a script, we have this variable here called name, and we put Damien inside this variable called name. So to access this variable called name, we need to make sure we put a $sign in front of it. Okay, so we ran this again in the last video, so you should be able to try it yourself. To run the script, change the permission, and then run it as you see here. And this is another thing I want to mention. Sometimes if you look at the script, you can tell what the script is going to do. So you don't always have to execute scripts to tell what is going to be able to do, because here, for example, this is a very simple example. We just set the variable name to Damien and we just print it out. Okay, so with that, what we're going to do in this video will be mostly on using if then else. If then else. The three of them often go together. So here's an example. If, okay, then else. So you use if to test a condition. In this case, the condition here is this variable called num or number has to be greater than 10. If that is true, which is then if this is true, we're going to print this. That's a big number. On the other hand, if the number is less than 10, we're just going to print that's a small number. Now, we're just using this as an example. We say if, give it a condition, then. If this is true, do this. If this condition is not true, which is the else, do this. And see, we start with if, we end with phi. If phi, which is, as you can tell, phi is just if reversed. This is what we do in bash scripting or in shell scripting. In other languages, they might use different contexts for this, but at the end of the day, almost every programming language has this concept of taking decisions using if, then, else. Okay, so that's the syntax. And again, these are building blocks, okay? If, then, else is a building block that you can use in a whole lot of different situations and scenarios. So let's test that with something here. Okay, before we do that, you see what we have here, GT means greater than. Greater for G for greater, T for than. So greater than. There are a couple of other operators you can use. For example, EQ means equal to. NE means not equal to. Not equal to. LT means less than. LE means less or equal to. GT means greater than, which is the one we use here. GT, greater than. GE means greater or equal to. Okay, So these are the operators we'll be using when you're taking decisions. All right, so time to do some lab. Let's try this out. Okay, like I said, I'm going to be using AWS. I already have my AWS account here, so I'm going to go to EC2. Feel free to use your VirtualBox if you have Yum-based distro there. The reason why I'm using Yum-based distro is because at the end, I'm going to show you a script, and that script is going to install some applications, and we're going to use a Red Hat-based package management command called Yum. So if I want to do this on Ubuntu, it just means that I need to change Yum to apt, which is the package management tool for Ubuntu or Debian. All right, so again, I'm using Amazon Linux, which is Red Hat based distro. So I'm going to call this one lab. Okay, if you haven't used AWS before, I'm basically going to select my AMI, and then I'm going to leave most of this as default, and I'm going to select my key here, and that's all I need really. I'm going to launch this instance and wait for it for a few seconds, and it should be ready. All right, so now my instance has been created. I come here to my instances, I wait for it. Instance state says it's running. So let's try to connect to it. It's already selected, so I'm just gonna click connect and then connect. So let's wait for it to come up. All right, so here's my AWS instance, and now I can try to do the exercises I want to do. So here I have nothing in here. So again, I'm going to do a directory called make directory lab. Okay, call it whatever you want. I'm going to go into it, cd lab. Okay, now we're going to go back to our presentation, and I'm going to create a script called my if.sh. Again, remember this is just a name. And here I can actually just copy and paste to make things easier. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it, and that will open Nano for me. I'm going to go back and copy the whole of the script. This one is easy. If you want to do this yourself, feel free to pause the video and then type the comments, or I can make them available in a GitHub repository. Okay, so this is the small script we're going to try. It starts with echo enter a number, which means it's going to, on the screen, give us enter a number. Then it's going to wait for us to enter a number. And then it's going to test that number. If the number we enter is greater than 10, it's going to print this. Otherwise, it's going to print this. Okay, so pretty simple. Let's save this. Again, this is Nano, so Control O. Sorry. Control O. When you do that, at the bottom here, you see it's asking you to save the file, and we already want the file to be my if.sh, so I just press enter, then press Control X, and I'm out. ls, that's my file, gmod plus x, my if, then let's run it. Okay, enter a number is waiting for me now. Let me put 20, and it says that's a big number because 20 is greater than 10. Let's run it again. Enter a number, I'm going to put 5. That's a small number. So you see how it's making the decision? So run it again. Let's put 10. What happens? That's a small number. Okay. Let's run it again, put 15. That's a big number. So again, you can see how we're taking decisions using if then else in this case. Okay, so let's proceed. That is, again, this is a building block. You will see how this can be used in much larger and bigger projects. So I'm going to continue with the slideshow and go to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to look at loop examples. These are examples of loop: for, while, and until. For, you're going to use it a lot. For and while, you can make them to do the same thing, but they are different in a way, okay? Until it's kind of like in a class of its own compared to, if you compare it to this other two. So let's look at them individually. So for the for loop, so the for loop executes command for each item in a list, okay? So if you have 100 items, you can loop through them. Item 1, 2, 3 until 100. See, to a human being, that could be repetitive, that could be boring, but these are the areas that computer programs actually shine. They are very good in doing repetitive work over and over and over again and not getting bored, I hope. So for the for loop, it's useful for processing multiple files or directories automatically. And we're going to have an example here. So remember in the other script, we have some files here in user documents. So we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to start processing those files one after the other. Okay. So again, let's try this. Programming is best done by practice. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to go to my EC2 instance and just put that. So I'm inside my nano. I'll just copy this. Again, if you are doing this, just pause the video and type them yourself. Okay, so now we're going to do Control O, Enter, Control X. You know the drill already. And then we're going to change gmod plus X, my for loop dot shell. Then I'm going to do my for loop. Okay, so it says processing home that, but you see what it finished so quickly because there's no file in this directory here. So let's cut the script, my for loop does shell, and let's put some files in this directory here. Okay, so I'm going to touch home user. Actually, I'm going to put okay, let's change that script now. Let's do okay, let's make sure that this reflects the current user, and for that we're just going to put a tilde here. We'll put a tilde here so that this script can be generic, all right, for any user running it. So let's press Control O, Enter, Control X, and it's already executable, so we don't have to do anything about that. So now let's touch inside home, EC2-user, documents. Okay, so let's touch a file there called file1. And it's saying that that document doesn't exist. So let's create it. Okay, so let's do, first of all, let's create a directory. Let's do mkdir -p. And let's create this. And let's create a file now. Okay, let's create another one. Let's create another one. Let's create another one. So now we have 4 files in. We have 4 files in this. Okay, or you can do, if you want to list them, -al. So now we have 4 files. Now that we have 4 files to loop over, let's run this command again. We're gonna do that. There you go. So you can see that for every one of those files is going to, okay, let's look at the script. The script is here, right? The script is here. It's going to loop through all the files in this directory, and then it's going to print processing file. Now that file is going to replace it with this file here is this variable here. And this variable is basically everything we have in here, and that is basically everything here. Processing that. Okay. See how it replaced everything we have in here. Okay. Sorry. clear cat my loop, my for loop. Okay, so this is the current script. So for file in this, do echo processing file. So this file here with the $sign is basically replacing this. Okay, it's basically invoking this. And it's saying for every file you have in here, print that variable. So it's basically, that's what it's doing. My loop, my for loop. Okay, so if we go ahead now, let's create another file. Let's create file 5, file 6. Now it's going to loop 6 times. See that? So the important thing here is that with this for loop, we can go over a whole lot of documents. We can iterate over them and do whatever we're asking it to do. Again, these are building blocks. You can see how they are used in larger projects or scripts. Okay, so that's how a for script works, just basically looping through. All right, so let's go to the next slide. The while loop. So the while loop runs while a condition is true. Like I said earlier, you can use while and for to do the same thing, but certain scenarios might require the use of while, other scenarios might require the use of for. But this one is basically helping you to keep doing what it needs to do until a condition is true. So you can see for each one of them, there's always going to be a condition. In the for loop, there was a condition. Here, there is a condition. So we're making a decision based on a condition. So let's go ahead and try this one here. So again, we go back here and put that there. We come here, copy the script. Again, building blocks. Paste it here. So what is this one doing? Look at this carefully. We set a variable here called counter equals 5. Then we're making a decision on that variable to make sure it is greater than 0. If that variable is greater than 0, it's going to do this. But at a point, this condition will no longer be true because we are decreasing the counter value. So the first time we ran this, counter was 5. We reduced 1, it became 4. We reduced 1, it became 3. We reduced 1, it became 2. We reduced 1, it became 1. We reduced 1, it becomes 0. So at that point, this condition is no longer going to be true because 0 is now greater than 0. At that point, this script will drop down and end. So let's look at the syntax. While, do, done. So all those 3 commands have to be available. They have to be present. After the while, you put the condition you are testing on. You put a semicolon, you type do, then you ask it to do what you want it to do. But in a while, you must always have to make sure you are decrementing the value that you are testing with. Otherwise, this script will not work as intended. Okay, because then the logic, may just get messed up. And then when you are done, you put done. Just like with for, we end with fi. With while, we end with done. And we specify with the condition we wanted here as well. All right, so let's give that a trial. Control O, enter, Control X. We're out. Gmod plus X. My while loop. My while loop. There you go. Countdown. You say countdown 5, countdown 4, countdown 3, countdown 2, countdown 1. So again, let's look at the script. Cat my while loop. So we set the counter to 5. And so at this point, when we say echo countdown counter, which is the variable here 5, it says 5. Then we reduce it by 1. How do we reduce? We do counter minus minus. So that is minus minus is a way to decrement. So you can increment with plus plus, you can decrement with minus minus. So it knows once it sees counter minus minus, the bash script knows it has to reduce this value. So it's going to be 4 minus 1, which goes to 4, which is what we have here. By the time it comes here again, it becomes 4. Then after that, it printed this, and then it reduces the number. Now it's 3. Then after that, reduces 2. After that, reduces 1. So that is how this is working here. If you want, you can make few changes here. Let's go ahead now and say our counter is 10 or 15. Let's say counter is 15. Let's save it, Control O, Enter, Control X, and we'll run it again. See, now we increased from 5 to 15, and you can see how the value started at 15, and it went all the way down by reducing each increment. So again, this is a syntax. This is a code segment making decisions that you can use in larger or bigger applications. Okay, moving on. That is an example of while loop. While, do, end. Okay, so this one is until. So you can see the until loop. It runs until a condition becomes true. All right. This is handy for waiting on a process or file creation. So this one will be interesting. Let's go ahead and run it. So my until loop, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it. Again, in your own case, maybe type it. Pause the video and type it if you want to try it out. Okay, so we copy that and we paste it here. Okay, so this one is saying until this file. So again, we're testing until do done. So this loop is going to end whenever it says done. So in between until and do, in between until and done, everything here will get executed at each iteration, at each loop. But you need to put a do before you ask it what to do. So now this file is a way to test if a file exists. So we said until this file exists, do this. Print waiting for temp text to exist, which is this file here. Okay. Now we're going to sleep for 2 seconds. We're going to wait. Okay, like do nothing for 2 seconds, and then we're done. So basically, we're just going to loop and loop and loop until this file exists. If the file doesn't exist, this will loop forever, like literally till eternity, until that file exists. And once it comes out of that loop, it's going to do this, echo file found. Okay, so let's save that. Control O, Control X, Gmod plus X, my until loop. Let's run it, my until loop. Okay, it's waiting and waiting and waiting. After 2 seconds, it goes over again. After 2 seconds. So who can tell us how to exit this loop? Well, the thing is that file has to be there. So one thing I could do is to create another terminal and then put the file there. And as soon as the file is there, this program will exit. Alternatively, I could go in and make sure that file is there before I run the script. If the file is there before I run the script, basically it's going to execute once. Okay, so let's do the second one. Because as it is now, like I said, it's going to keep waiting till eternity because that file is not there and no one is putting it there and it will never find it. So let's put the file there. So I'm going to say touch temp. What's the name of the file? Flag.txt. Temp flag.txt. So the file is there. If we run this program now, it's going to find a file, so only once. See that? file found, because the file is there. File found, file found. Let's remove it again. Temp flag. Now it's going to loop forever because the file is not there. So you see how you can use these building blocks in very complex applications or script that you're writing. All right, so basically, as you can see there, this is going to loop until a condition becomes true. All right. So each one of them have different use cases. Just make sure you follow the syntax. In this case, until, the do, and the done. That forms the loop. All right, let's look at a few more examples combining a few of the stuff that we have been talking about. So we're going to use example 1 here that is going to just make use of some of the variables and the logic statements we're using here. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it. All right, so here, let's see if you can understand the code. We have the source directory. We're setting a variable as source directory, and that source directory is going to be here. Again, let me make this generic so that it doesn't fail. And I'm going to put tilde. Tilde is a short form for home, /home, / name of the user. Okay, so destination directory is going to be, okay, again, let's reduce that to squiggly. Backup. Okay, so we're going to use a for, and we're going to use a variable called file. For file in source directory, which is this one here. All right, do copy file, which is the first file here, into destination directory, which is this one here. And then after that, it's going to echo file copied to destination directory, and destination directory is simply home backup. All right, now if you remember, the document directory wasn't there and I had to create it. In the same way, I have to create this directory called backup. But before I do that, let's run the script and see what happens. So again, Control O, enter, Control X, and we're out. So chmod +x example 1. Let's run it. Example 1. See, no such file or directory is basically complaining about the backup. So let's make the directory for backup. So we'll do mkdir. Has to be exactly as it is there, backup. Okay, so let's run it again. No such file or directory. So it's basically complaining about documents. So let's see, ls documents. Okay, we have that directory document, so why is it complaining? Well, like I said, a lot of time, script may not just work. You have to troubleshoot what is happening. So let's see what is going on here. Okay, so the problem is, let's look at it. The problem is that because we're putting this quote, the system is not able to expand this squiggly sign. So if we remove those, it should work. So let's save that, Control O, Control X. Let's run it now. And now it's working. Okay, let's run it again. Now that it's working, let's look at the script again. Cat example the shell. So basically, we have the source directory to be our home documents. We have the destination directory to be home backups. And we said we loop through all the files and documents. And for each one of them, we're basically copying the file from documents to backup. Okay, and for each of the copy, we just echo this command. And once we have copied all the files, we just exit. So how do we verify? Let's see if our files are copied. So ls backup. and we see all the files there. ls-al, we see the files there, 6 of them. Now let's create another file, touch documents, let's just call it Linux. Okay, so now we have ls-al documents, and we have Linux there, 6 files on the Linux. If we do that for backup, we won't see the Linux because it's not copied yet. So if we run the script, now it should copy it over, and now we can see that if you go into here, now we see Linux. Okay, so our script is working using variables and also looping. Okay, so let's look at the next example here, which is kind of like, it's very similar, but let's look at this. So we go to nano and paste it there, example 2, and then we copy the script and we paste it here. Similar, we have a log directory here, which is var log, and then we have the archive, which is var log archive. Then we're going to make this directory inside var log, and then we're going to loop through everything in var log. Okay, we're going to loop through everything in this directory here called var log. All right, any file there that has extension .log, and we're going to move it into archive. Now I'm going to change that to copy so we don't mess up the system. We don't want to copy those files over. We don't want to move them. Let's just copy them, and then it's going to echo this. Okay, this looks good. The only problem we might have is permission issue, but let's run it and see. Control O, Control X. So gmod plus X, example 2. All right, so it's actually no permission issue. So let's say that is copied. Okay, cat example 2, and now we have var log archive. So let's look at ls var log archive. Looks like that directory doesn't exist. Var log archive. Make directory -p archive directory. Okay, so archive directory is that. So we're meant to make this. All right, so it's not doing it because when I try to check, that directory doesn't exist. Okay, again, that's what I was saying earlier. You might always, sometimes script may not work, especially if you didn't try it. You have to troubleshoot. So here we have log directory to be var log archive is var log archive, and then we're making the directory, make directory -p var log archive. Now a way to test this is Control X. No, don't save it. A way to test this is to actually try this command. I'm going to type this, or well, let me just expand on this. I'm gonna do, okay, make directory -p. I'm gonna do var log archive. And you see what it's saying, permission denied, which is what I was saying, because it doesn't have the permission to, this user, ec2-user, doesn't have the permission to write into var log. So we have a couple of things we can do. One of them is to become root and then run the script, or let's see if we run it with sudo example 2 okay, ls, okay, sudo example 2.shell. Okay, looks like this looks like it's done it because we put sudo. So if you do ls var log archive, that looks like it. So the directory now exists. And in there, we see all the files that are copied. Very good. So always pay attention to permission issues, to how variables are being expanded when you're looking at scripting. Initially, it wasn't able to do it because we're writing to a directory which is belongs to the admin or the root. We didn't put sudo, so it's not going to do it. Instead of putting sudo right there when you run the command, if you want, you can also put sudo inside the file. So for each of the command, you can put sudo to execute. This is what I mean. So if I can go in there, and I can come here, for example, and say sudo make dir that. Okay, but it's okay. The way I did it, it works, so that's fine. So Control X. I'm not gonna save. No. All right. So let's look at the script again. Cat example2 .shell. Basically, we have a directory called varlog, which every Linux user should know, because this is where logs are stored. So that directory exists. It belongs to the admin. Okay. So we have that. We set it to that, and then we want our destination to be archive directory inside varlog. Okay. Initially, that archive doesn't exist. So we created it using make directory, make dir, and then we loop through all the files. So we say for log file in log directory, which is basically varlog. Any file there that has a .log, as you can see, there are a few files with .log. We said we should copy them over to the destination, which is archive. So let's compare the two. ls archive, ls varlog archive. So now you can see all the files that end with log are copied over. So this one ends in log, so we saw it there, hockey. DNF ends with log, we have it copied. RPM ends with log, we have it copied. So basically, every file that has star.log, any file with extension log, get copied over. And as it get copied over, it gave us this information here. File archived. So that's what we see here. Archived, 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 archived. So all the files copied are being printed for us. Okay, let's run it again, and then we'll get out of here. Example 2. Okay, perfect. So the file is now, well, again, as a regular user, it's not able to do that. But if you do sudo, now it does it, which is good. Okay, so we've treated two examples, combining variables and the different looping commands that we have here. Okay, so if you practice all of those, things should be becoming clearer for you. Whenever you have your code, there's always a need to troubleshoot if things don't work, as you saw me do. So don't be scared if things don't work. Just patiently try to see why it's not working. With loops, you are iterating over a couple of items. You always want to make sure that your code is working and is going through every item. Always check for those. If you have some variables, always make sure that those values are also what you expect them to be. So basically, always verify that your code is working as expected. Okay, before we proceed, here are some quizzes for you which you can answer. So what is the difference between a for, a while, and until loops? Again, if you go back to the videos, you should be able to explain the differences between them. Okay, how do you reference a variable inside a loop? We talked about that in the last video and also in this video. How can a for loop help automate file management? Okay, if you have a lot of files and you need to iterate over them, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 files, 1,000,000 files, how can for loop help you to go through them? And what does the until loop do? Okay, that is similar to the first one. If you understand what it does, if you understand what they do and the differences between them, then you should be able to understand what the until loop do as well. Why is combining loops and variables powerful in scripting? That's for you to answer. So spend time here. Make sure you're able to answer them. Otherwise, go over the video all over again. Okay, general advice. What we've been doing, pretty much again, giving you these building blocks. How to use a for loop, how to use a while loop, how to use until loop, how to use if then else, how do you use variables. Okay, now these building blocks, if you see them in a large program, they can be very powerful. But when you want to learn scripting or programming in general, take baby steps. Do it one step at a time. And most importantly, you can also learn from existing scripts. You don't have to write everything by yourself for a start. It's okay to look at some examples. Okay, and I had this GitHub page here which I look up, and it looks like well, I feel it has some good examples you can try. So if you go here, simple bash scripts. So for example, this one says hello.shell, get a simple output, process, interactive, while read, read menu, while menu. So feel free, go to that URL, try a bunch of them, and get used to this process of doing things. So let me see which is a simple one that we can try. All right, so this one, process, interactive, while read. Let's look at math. Okay, subtraction. Let's look at this one here. Okay, that's a script which is going to be similar to the one we did before. So let me copy that, come here and run it. I'm going to call it nano script add. Okay, I always like to put my, so that it doesn't conflict with anything, my add.shell. Okay, I'm going to paste it here. All right, so what is it doing? We have user being bash, and we are going to enter the first number, and then we're going to enter the second number, and then we're going to add them together. All right, so Control O, Control X, chmod plus X, my add. Okay, my add. Ask me for the first number 10, second number 20, answer 30. 10 plus 20 equals 30. Run it again. 50, 50, 100. So we got ourselves a very simple calculator to add numbers. So again, if you cut my add, that is it. You put the first number, you read it into A, you put the second number, read it into B. Now you use variable to access them and add them together. All right, so this can be very powerful. Learning to automate things can be very powerful, but not everybody's job might be to automate stuff. So if that is not your job, don't worry. It's most important to be able to read scripts for a start, and then with time, as you get used to that process, you can start to write scripts as well. But I gave you the building blocks, and hopefully those are helpful. Okay, so we're going to try to now run a longer script that will install WordPress. If you don't know what WordPress is, it's basically an LMS, and actually you can Google it. WordPress. So if you go to WordPress, you see it here, and you can use it to build your websites. See all these websites you see here are built with WordPress. All these examples here, and actually I like this as well. If you said most famous websites built with WordPress. I like this because if I find it, you know, Usain Bolt, his website was built with WordPress, and I like Usain Bolt. So these are some of the websites. Time Magazine is built with WordPress. Sony Music, TechCrunch, TEDblog, Vogue, Let's see if there's the one where Usain Bolt is. Maybe it's another one. There you go, Usain Bolt. So his website was built with WordPress. And so yeah, this is a very well-known LMS for building websites. And so if I want to build a website using WordPress in AWS, in using Amazon Linux, I can go through the steps, and actually AWS give you the script to run. So instead of you having to type it manually, you can just write a script. So just give me a second and I'll pull over the script that I'm going to use. It's already written, all the changes have been made. So I'm going to copy it over, which is a long script. So I'm going to do nano wordpress.shell, and I'm going to paste it here. So this is a long script. I don't expect you to understand everything in here, but this is at least giving you an example of how all those commands can be used together to create something. So let's see. As you already know, any line that has a pound is a comment. So so it starts from here. We're going to update our server. This one here, we're going to update our system, and we're using Yum. So make sure this runs on Yum-based distro like Amazon Linux, as I said at the beginning of the video. Then we're going to install this. All these other ones here are commented out. So then we're going to come here to enable it. By the way, we're installing my WordPress and my SQL or MariaDB because WordPress needs a database. Okay, so we're going to install MariaDB as well. Then we're going to start it, and then we're going to start MariaDB. Then we're going to create a database called blog inside the database, and we're going to install something called expect that will help us to automatically enter some variables inside database as we're doing the configuration. So once we install expect, you see expect being used in all those lines there. So expect is taking care of all the answers that we need to give to the database. Then after that, we are using SQL statements, my SQL -u to log on, and then create the database called WordPress with the password. And we won't go through all of that. Okay. Again, this one's here commented out, so it's not going to do anything. After that, we're going to install WordPress. We use a tool called wget to download the latest version of WordPress. We extract it, we start MariaDB, we copy this file here, WordPress wp config into this directory here. Then we do a bunch of other copies to var www.html. We remove the blog directory, and then we use this tool called set to make some substitutions in our file, and then we change some permissions. And then after that, we start the database and we start Apache. All right, so long process, but you can see the power of script. If this works, everything should just get configured for us when we're done. So I can do Control O to save it, Control X to come out, and as usual, Gmod +X, and I do WordPress. Okay, again, we may need to use sudo to run the script so it performs admin stuff. Then remember, let's see the script again, cat WordPress. If we put sudo inside the comments, then it shouldn't matter. Okay, for example, when we want to install, you see, we cannot install without using sudo. So it means that we need to run the script as sudo. Or better still, I can just become admin and run the script. Okay, so let's try both. Okay, let me just do sudo su minus. I've just dropped a root shell, and I'm going to go into the home directory of home ec2-user, and I'll find the script here. Well, go into lab, and the script should be here, WordPress. Okay, so let's run it, and hopefully the script works fine. I've tested it before a time back and everything worked, but I haven't done it in recent times, so let's see. All right, so this is where you see the power of scripting though. There are so many commands there that ordinarily I have to be typing them, but I just put everything inside a file called a script, and I'm running the script, and now I can go grab some coffee, do whatever I want to do, and by the time I come back, if this script runs perfectly, I should have my WordPress installed, configured with MariaDB, and everything should be working. But to get it working, I had to spend a lot of time to make sure that I fix all the errors that the script is giving me. And once you go through all that steps, which we call debugging, once you've gone through the steps of debugging your code and your code is working, then anybody can use it at any point in time to do whatever they want to do. So that's the beauty of being able to write scripts. But again, don't think you have to be an expert from the beginning. This is kind of something you have to get into gradually practicing like any craft. And again, like I said, if you're not interested in programming, at least understand how a script works. And if you have to make a script, if you have to run a script, that script can be provided for you by the person who wrote it, and your job is simply maybe just to chimod it and run it. At least you should know all the process involved in this, even if you're not going to be a developer or a bash script developer or writer, whatever the name you call yourself in that case. Okay, so let's wait for it. It should complete if everything is good, and then after that we should have our WordPress installed, and then everything should be good. All right, so at this point it just downloaded WordPress. It's going to extract it and then proceed. So far, script is working very well. It's answering all the questions we ask it to answer for us using expect. It sets the password. Everything is looking good. So give it a few more minutes and this should be running as expected. Again, like I said, I took time to make sure that this is working. So let's see if it is still working. All right, perfect. It looks like everything worked as expected. How do we know? Well, we can see that Apache is installed and started, so let's check. We can do systemctl status httpd, and it said it's active. All right, and let's do that for MariaDB as well. MariaDB, which is a database, and it says it's active. Okay, very good. So everything looks fine. Now I can stop here, but let me just test one thing. So this instance has this IP here. I'm going to put the IP here on a website and see if I'm able to access the page. Okay, now I need to go and open up the security group, at least for port 80. So I'm going to do edit inbound rules, and I'm going to add port 80. As a matter of fact, if I want, I can open all the ports, but let me just open HTTP from anywhere, save it. Then let's try again. After that, we reload. If that doesn't make any difference. Oh yeah, it's putting HTTPS, but it's not. It should be HTTP. And that can make all the difference. There you go. So now WordPress is up and we can now configure it. So let's see if I can do this quickly. It's in English. Let's give a title. I'm going to say Cloud Tech Academy. And the username, I'm just going to select admin. and this is the password. I'm just going to copy that password, and hopefully I don't, erase it. So I'm going to put my email address, or this one here. Okay, so now we install WordPress, and now we can say save, login, and we can say admin and login. The admin we just created. Okay, so that is our WordPress. Let's see the appearance. It's going to have the default theme. This is the default theme currently. So our website is up and running. Let's just copy the IP and put another link, and we should see something beautiful come up. That's it. That's the blog, Cloud Tech Academy. There's a sample page there. It's pretty much, because I'm the admin, that's why it's showing me all this information. But if someone else were to put this on their web browser, it's going to show them something that looks a lot better. But also, again, while we're here, I can actually change the theme. Let's do this one. Activate. All right, now we activate. Let's come here, another one. Let's do refresh, and there we have a beautiful website that we can customize for ourselves. See, the template is all there, and you can see how simple it was. We just run a script, and that script went ahead and do everything for us. And again, you can take a look at the script. We do nano so that's the script that did the magic for us. Yeah, you can see it's very long, but once you take time to write a script like this, any other time you can just run the script and that gets the job done for you. All right, so we've come to the end of the video. Hit the subscribe button so you can get notified whenever these videos get pushed onto the channel, where you can continue to learn about DevOps and Linux and AWS, cloud and AI and everything tech. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.